Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll wait a minute or two just to let everybody filter in, and then we'll get started with the presentation. All right. Good afternoon again, and thank you everybody for joining. So this is our third session in our webinar on Hazardous Waste Program Registry. We presented 3 times this week, all with the same information, but just to make sure we were presenting to as many people as possible this week. So if you go to the next slide, please. I'm Jess Turquette. I'm Manager of Communications at RPRA, and I'll be here to MC and moderate questions. To answer your question, or to sort of ask your question, please click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen and type in your question or comment and click send. There is also this upvote feature where you can like another person's question. This will move the question up the queue and prompt us to answer it faster. Today we'll be pausing at the end to answer your questions. So if you don't think we're getting to them, just hang tight. We'll be getting them after we complete our slides. We are expecting quite a few people on the webinar today, and so we anticipate not being able to get through all of the questions. So we apologize in advance, but we'll get to as many as possible. 2 things to keep in mind: that we will be posting some frequently asked questions following the webinar, in July. And then this is one of many informational sessions that we'll be putting on throughout the year to further support registry users before the launch. So this is just, one opportunity for you to ask your questions. Just know that there's more to come, and stay tuned for those details. Next slide, please. So this webinar is also being recorded, and the slides and the recordings will be shared with all webinar participants tomorrow. And we also will be posting these to our website. So if you missed the webinar or you have to leave, you'll be getting these slides at a later date, as well as the recordings. So a quick agenda for today. I have Noah Gitterman here with me. He is our project sponsor of the Hazardous Waste Program Registry, and Ellen White is here as project lead. Noah will walk through the introduction and a bit about what's changing, and then Ellen will take over and talk about looking ahead and what you can expect leading up to the launch of the registry. And as mentioned, we'll do Q&As at the end. So with that, I'll hand it over to Noah to kick things off.
Thanks, Jess. So like Jess said, I'm Noah. I'm Chief of Strategic Initiatives here at RPRA. You'll hear me talk about, and I'm the executive sponsor for our Hazardous Waste Program Registry. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the reason why we're here today is because the hazardous waste, or Ontario's hazardous waste program, is changing in a particular way. What's changing is that starting January 1st, 2023, where and how you report information under the program will be different. All information about hazardous waste activities starting January 1st must be submitted to RPRA's new online hazardous waste registry. And so there will be no more paper manifests starting January 1st. There will also no longer be annual registrations. So the annual generator registration that happens between January 1st and February 15th every year is no longer a requirement. You will only report to the registry when you have activities, either on-site activities or manifest to report. A third key change is that generators can delegate reporting and fee payments to a service provider if they wish. The substance of your reporting is remaining the same. So facility information, waste stream information, the kinds of information about on-site activities that you need to report, the manifest information, and when to report all that information, that is all the same. What's changing is that you now, instead of using HWN and paper manifests, you now will only use RPRA's new Hazardous Waste Registry. The changes are reflected in amendments to Regulation 347 that were approved this spring. They're online on the provincial e-laws site. We've also linked them here. So I think Jess mentioned that you will get a copy of this presentation tomorrow. So you'll be able to click through all the links that you're seeing highlighted on the page. So if you're on the RPRA website, you'll be able to get to see those amendments if you want to. Next slide. So it may help to just provide a bit of background about who RPRA, or as I like to say, RPRA is. We are a regulator created by provincial legislation with two primary mandates. One is to, less relevant for today's session, but a key part of what we do is to focus on winding up legacy waste diversion programs or recycling programs under the Waste Diversion Transition Act, and implementing new waste diversion programs, what we call producer responsibility programs, under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act, the RRCEA. And so there's about 5 or 6 different programs we operate and regulate under that part of our mandate. And we also provide registration reporting services for ministry programs as directed by the minister. And so far we are doing that for excess soil. So we have a new excess soil registry that was built last year and that we're operating this year for a new excess soil program that the ministry launched. And we're operating the registry we're talking about today for hazardous waste, which will be up and running later this year. And we'll talk more about dates later on. We're not part of government. We're a non-crown corporation created by statute. We're not part of the government, but we are accountable to the Minister of the Environment. We have accountability mechanisms in our governing statute, so in the RRCEA, requiring us to report out on our activities, both to the public and to the minister. And we have an operating agreement with the minister with additional obligations related to accountability and transparency. There's a lot of information about us on our website. And a lot of our corporate documents are public, including our operating agreement with the ministry, if you want to find out more information about what we do and how we operate. We provide information to the ministry to support their programs and their policy decisions, but we do not write policy and we do not write regulations. So we implement the resource recovery or producer responsibility regulations under the RCA, and we enforce them. For excess soil and hazardous waste, we implement the registries and we support registrants in interacting with the registry, but we don't own the program, and we don't do compliance and enforcement for excess soil or hazardous waste. And we don't determine the regulations or what the policy is. So our registry is built to meet the ministry's program needs and then also to meet registrants or users' needs. Next slide, please. So the a little bit more about the registry we're building and the service we're going to be operating. We're like I said, we're creating a new online registry to allow you to report all of the information you need to report under Ontario's Hazardous Waste Program, facilities, waste streams, waste activities. And again, that will mean no more paper manifests starting January 1st. We set and collect fees to recover our program costs, and we will be supporting stakeholders who will be using the registry through email, call support, and other things to make sure you are able to report the things you need to report. The new registry will replace the current HWIN system. And there will be both an online reporting portal to submit information and an accompanying mobile app to allow you to do manifesting on the go. Again, like I said before, the ministry will continue to oversee the hazardous waste enforcement, and they will have their own access to the information in the registry to support those program needs. Next slide, please. We've been working on this registry for a while already, for about a year. The registry build is on schedule. We are targeting a launch date of, or opening it up for registrants on November 15th. Ellen's going to talk a bit more about that later on. Some of the things we built to date include creating user accounts for generators, carriers, and receivers, or the functionality to allow you to create your accounts, managing facilities and waste stream information, reporting on-site activities, and creating, editing, and completing manifests in the system. We have not been building this in isolation, so we've been working very closely with our ministry partners, with our technology partners, who are helping us to realize our business requirements in a way that we hope will be easy to use for registrants. And we've been consulting and engaging with key industry stakeholders and subject matter experts along the way. So we've had working group meetings, focus groups. We've done usability testing with different groups. We've done one-on-one interviews with industry users and ministry users, and we've done surveys to the broader registry base. You will be hearing more from us as we get closer to launch date. It's been very important to us to make sure we've been engaging with key experts and key users throughout to make sure what we build will be meeting the ministry's program needs and also be something that'll work for registrants. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about what's changing. And so if we go to the next slide, we've got a kind of a summary. Again, some of these things I've mentioned already. So what is ending as of January 1st, 2023? Well, there, like I said before, that annual registration that generators do between Jan 1 and Feb 15 is no longer part of the regulatory requirements, and paper manifests for waste shipments will also be ending as of January 1st. What remains the same, like I said before, is the substance of your reporting. What you report and when you report remains the same. No change. What's new is all about the how and the where. So you will, all the information that is on a manifest or you were reporting through HWIN will now all come through RPRA's new registry. There's an ability for generators to delegate reporting and fee payment, either fully delegate it so they don't have to interact with a registry at all, or to do it within the registry if they do want to set up their own accounts. Carriers and receivers will have to create accounts in our registry in order to use the system and report the information they're obligated to report. And there will also be an option for users that are associated with a high volume of manifesting. There is an option to integrate with our system to support bulk data transfers or bulk data integration. And Ellen's going to speak a bit more about that later on. Next slide, please. Sort of really high level, we're going to be moving from the current H1 portal plus the paper manifest that you see on the screen here. And on the next slide, you'll see screenshots from the registry system that you will be obligated to use to complete your reporting starting January 1st. On the left is what the main registry portal looks like when you're looking at tracking a manifest in progress. And on the right is a screenshot from the mobile app that will also be available. Next slide, please. So I mentioned delegation a couple of times, so I'll spend another minute talking a bit more about what that means. The amended Regulation 347 clarifies that generators can delegate a service provider to submit information to the registry on the generator's behalf. So we call that kind of delegate, that kind of service provider, an authorized generator delegate, or AGD. You will hear that terminology again in this presentation and in other communications and sessions from us over the next few months as we get closer to November 15. What delegation means is that a generator can hire a service provider to do the reporting and fee payment in the registry on the generator's behalf. And so one version of that is what we call full delegation. So that is the generator can hire a service provider to do all of the reporting and all of the fee payment on their behalf. And in that case, would never have to interact with the new registry or interact with RPRA. There is also partial delegation available. So if a generator wants to set up their own account in the registry, they can still delegate facility and waste stream management on-site activity reporting to another account holder. We call that partial delegation. And there are some sort of minimal requirements set out in the regulation related to delegation. It has to be done through a written authorization. There's a reference in the reg that if there is additional guidance about how that works, that will be set out in the registration manual that the ministry publishes. This has come up in the other sessions. We don't expect that the ministry will be publishing a template for what written authorization should look like, but I think they see it as a relatively straightforward process as long as there's something in writing documenting the service that's being delegated from the generator to the service provider in a signed document. That should be sufficient. And Ellen will, again, later on talk a bit more about sort of next steps in terms of thinking about delegation and how it might work for you. Next slide, please. A little bit about fees, I think, before I hand it off to Ellen. So RPRA, again, RPRA sits outside of government. We also receive no funding from government. We recover all of our costs from registrants across all of our programs that we run. We're a cost recovery organization, so we can only recover our costs of running our programs. Through our fees, we can also recover a portion of the ministry's costs for the hazardous waste program. And it's important to note that in addition to the amendments to Regulation 347, there is a new regulation under the RRCEA, that's RPRA's governing statute, that essentially preserves and clarifies all of the existing fee exemptions under the current program, which RPRA must follow. So when we do set fees for the new system, all of the existing fee exemptions, if you're benefiting from them, will be preserved. Under the new system, fees will be invoiced to the entity that sets up the generation facility. So that would be the generator, if the generator has created their own account, or if they've done full delegation, that would be the generator's authorized delegate. In terms of how fees are set, RPRA is obligated to consult on fees before we set them. So it's true for hazardous waste and all the programs we run. We will be consulting on fees for the hazardous waste program for 2023, along with all of our other programs for 2023 in the fall. So you will be hearing more from us about that process as we get closer to October. And I think it's over to Ellen.
Thanks, Noah. And just want to say thank you to everyone for submitting your really great questions. Hopefully I can answer at least a few of them as we look at some of the specifics about how to prepare from the transition from HWIN into the new Hazardous Waste Program registry. But we also will have some time at the end for a Q&A session to get to as many questions as we can. Looking at some key dates, there are some things that you can do starting today to prepare for the transition. From now until early fall, if you're a current HWIN user, we do recommend that you manage your prepaid account balance and that you ensure your data in the system is accurate and up to date to prepare for the transition to the new registry. That's because we are going to be migrating existing data from HWIN into the new registry to minimize the work involved for users to set up their new registry account. So we're going to be migrating things like your existing generator numbers. So if you have an existing generator number, you're going to be using the same number in the new system, as well as any waste information associated to your waste generation facility. So any of your waste classes, your waste information, your land disposal restriction information, that will all be ported over into the new registry. As well, with the prepaid account balance, as Noah mentioned, in the new registry, we are moving away from a prepaid account to an invoicing model. So any of the funds you have in your prepaid account, that will not be transferred over to the registry. The ministry and the HWIN team, they will be reaching out to you directly into the fall to give you specific information about how to manage your account balance and how to prepare your data for the transition. Into the fall, prior to the launch of the registry, RPRA, we are going to be providing a comprehensive training for future users that includes future webinar sessions with us, training materials that will be posted to our website, and written and video instruction, just to make sure that everyone has some step-by-step guidance on setting up your account and reporting in the new system. The launch date for the registry is November 15th, 2022. We wanted to give users time before the new requirements kick in January 1st to set up your registry account, to make sure your facility and waste information is up to date, so that once those requirements kick in on January 1, you're fully prepared to start manifesting. So moving into role specific, what you'll need to do to prepare for the new registry. So as we mentioned, as of January 1, 2023, all your reporting must be done through the new registry. So that's all of the information from your generator registration report, any of your on-site waste management activities, and manifesting. No more paper as of January 1st. As we mentioned, if with the new delegation model, if you're a generator and you choose to have your waste management service provider do full delegation, you will not need to use the registry. Your delegate will set up your account and do all of your waste management activities on your behalf. What you do need to have in place is that written agreement and be clear on what services your service provider is going to be providing for you. If you do want to set up your own account because you want to manage some or all of your waste management activities, you will need to do so before you start shipping waste from your facility. So the sooner you can get in starting November 15th and set up that account, the more time you'll have to prepare. In order to do that, you'll need to know the current generator number and H1 username for each facility you operate to set up your account. How account management works in our registry system is you have one company account, and then you're going to be managing all of your facilities from that one company account. So what you'll do is when you create your registry account, there will be a process where you're going to link the existing generator facility and waste information to your new registry account. And to do that, you'll need the generator number so you can look it up. And then you'll need your H1 username so that we can validate that that is the facility that you're going to be using moving forward. I know for those of you who may have an existing RPRA registry account, either for excess soils or one of our producer responsibility programs, you will not have to create a new registry account. You can use your existing account and then add the hazardous waste registry to your existing account. If you do have an existing H1 account, the team will be communicating information about managing your prepaid account balances and ensuring your data in the system is accurate and up to date prior to us doing that final data migration in the fall before the registry launch. As a carrier, you will need to set up an account in the registry. This is necessary for you to be listed on a manifest as a carrier. It's also going to be required for you to create or edit manifests, and as well as to sign manifests in the website or the mobile app. If you are a carrier and you think you're interested in being an authorized generator delegate on behalf of your generator clients, you'll need to make sure you have that written agreement in place with your clients and that you're clear on whether you're doing a full or partial delegation. You'll need to also know your environmental compliance approval numbers to be able to set up your account in the registry. As with the data from HWIN, we're going to be populating the registry with environmental compliance approval numbers. And so after you create your account, you'll be able to link that ECA number to your account. And so all the information associated with that ECA will be available in the registry. This is also a really a good feature for us because in the manifesting process, it's going to take some of the guesswork out of making sure that any carrier listed on a manifest is authorized to transport the waste listed. The system will be able to validate that that ECA covers the waste mentioned on the manifest. If you're doing a full delegation, you are going to need to know the generator number and the H1 usernames for each of those clients and facilities that you're going to be setting up accounts for. Again, it's going to be a really good idea to create your account November 15th or soon after, so that you can be able to link all your ECAs to your account and be familiar with the system, how to use the website and also our mobile app, so that come January 1st, you're set up to begin manifesting. Paper manifests, as we mentioned, no longer accepted for manifesting as of January 1st. And in fact, if you have paper manifests in your possession, the regulation stipulates that you are going to need to dispose of them by January 31st. And the H1 team in the ministry will be providing guidance on how to dispose of and report those existing paper manifests. Important to note that you're going to be reporting your 2023 activities through the new registry, but any manifests with a ship date in the 2022 calendar year and the associated payments are going to continue to be processed through the current H1 system. So if you're shipping something December 31st and you're using paper, you're still going to be mailing it to the ministry in the same method you do now. But for your January 1st shipments, you're going to be reporting them electronically through the registry. As a receiver, you also need to create an account in the new registry in order to be added to a manifest or to complete and sign manifests. As well, you also may want to be an authorized generator delegate for your clients, and you will need to make sure that you have that written agreement in place before you create your account and before reporting begins, so that you know if you're going to be setting up accounts on behalf of your generators or if you're just doing a partial delegation model. Just like carriers, you're also going to need to know your environmental compliance approval numbers so that you'll be able to link that ECA to your new registry account as well. And if you are going to be a full delegate on behalf of a generator, you'll need to know their generator number and H1 username as well. Starting November 15th, you're going to go into the new registry and create your account or add the HWP program if you're already a registry user. And you're going to want to do that as soon after November 15th as possible, so that come January 1st, you're ready to begin manifesting. And a reminder that, again, if you are receiving waste in 2022 calendar year, you're covering the current process. And but then for your 2023 shipments, you're going to be using the new registry system. We understand that the delegation model is new, and so rest assured we will be having a dedicated session to give more information about what it means to be an authorized generator delegate in the future. But for now, we'll just go through some key points to keep in mind for right now. Right now, you can decide if you're interested in being an authorized generator delegate for your clients. And just know that you do have to have any agreement in place before you start operating on their behalf. You can determine if you're doing a full delegation where you're setting up all the registry accounts and managing all of their facilities and manifesting for your clients, or if you're doing a partial delegation where your clients are setting up their own registry account, but you're completing some waste management activities on their behalf. And not to belabor the point, but please make sure that you have that written agreement in place before the account creation and reporting begins, so that you're set up to begin manifesting as of January 1st. And if you are going to be doing that full delegation and you're going to be creating accounts on behalf of your generator clients, knowing their generator number and their H1 username is going to be necessary so that you can link that information to your new registry account. A last point on this slide is we understand that certain high volume, if you're a carrier or receiver or even a generator, you may have an internal IT system that you are set up to, that you're already collecting all of the information needed for to comply with your reporting requirements under the Regulation 347. If you are interested in integrating with the registry via an API connection to your internal IT system, please contact us as soon as possible. And we have a separate process that we're working through with those businesses that are interested in. So we're going to be doing some dedicated sessions and working directly with those businesses to make sure that integration is set up successfully. As I mentioned, account management works a little bit different in the registry than it did in HWIN. Right now in HWIN, you have one account for each generator number and the separate sign-ins. In the new registry, you're going to manage all of your facilities through your one company account. How it will work is you'll have an account admin who sets up the account and can add users to your company account. There's no limit. As many users as need access to the account can have it. The account admin will be able to add and delete users as they leave your company. Each user will have their own login. So they'll use their own email and password to access the system. The information that we are bringing over from HWIN, we're bringing over the active facility information, any associated waste streams, as well as any fee exemptions that you were granted in the current system. Those will also be migrated. So you won't have to reapply for a fee exemption if you've already been granted one. Carrier and receiver ECAs are also going to be in there. And so you'll be able to link those to your carrier or receiver account. And you'll want to make sure that your facility and waste information is up to date by the fall of 2022, so that we make sure we're migrating the most up-to-date data possible. Once you create your registry account and log in, it will be hopefully a quick and painless process to link that data to your new account. You'll be able to search by generator number to locate the facility that you want to add to your account. You're going to enter the primary or secondary HWIN username associated to the account as a validation step. And then the information, you'll be able to review all of the existing information on file for your facility. As well, you'll be able to link your ECA numbers in the same way. You'll enter the exact ECA number for your business, and then that information associated to your ECA will be included in the registry. And here's our kind of summary slide of our step-by-steps, the things that you can do now to prepare. So key is to decide if you want to be a delegate or you want to delegate to a service provider. Depending on your decision, you get a written agreement in place with that service provider. Make sure you know all of your current generator numbers, HWIN usernames, and ECA numbers for your business. If you are currently an HWIN user, you're going to want to make sure that you're managing your prepaid account balances and ensuring the data in the system is accurate and up to date prior to the fall. And if you do have an internal IT system that captures all the information needed for your waste management reporting, contact us if you're interested in integrating with the registry via an API integration. There's a lot of information that we've presented here. It may be a lot to absorb. So please visit our website where all of the slides and the recordings for this session, as well as sessions 1 and 2, which again, it did have the same information that we're sharing with you today. But if you're interested and you wanted to review all 3 recordings, you'll be able to do that from our Hazardous Waste Program webpage. We'll also share more information about our registry project development, and additional training items will be listed on our website as well. This is, as we mentioned, the first in our series of information sessions for our future registry users. We're going to make sure that we have several before the launch of the registry to give users as much information as possible to prepare for the transition. On our website, we also regularly publish project updates and news related to the Hazardous Waste Program. We share that via a monthly newsletter, as well as emails that may come up from time to time. So visit our website as well to be added to our Hazardous Waste Program mailing list. If you have questions about anything that we've been talking about today, or questions about the new registry, you can contact RPRA at hwp@rpra.ca. And if you have questions for the ministry about the requirements in the regulations or the windup of the HWIN program, you can contact the ministry at hwinmodernization@ontario.ca. I think now we're ready for our Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. So a lot of questions are in, which is great. You also might have noticed that myself and Noah have been typing in some questions as well. So hopefully the audience is able to see those. But I'll kick it off with the first question here. This is related to fees. So maybe for Noah can answer this. Will e-manifest cost anything to submit or file? And will generators still be able to preload funds into HWIN to cover any of these costs?
Right, so there will still be fees associated with reporting waste activities, so manifests and some on-site waste activities. Again, the current fee exemptions will be maintained. So if you're getting the benefit of a fee exemption now, that'll continue. But there will be manifesting related fees. The exact structure has not been settled yet, so likely will be tonnage fees and could also be combined with a per manifest fee like there is now. The approach to invoicing will be a bit different. The registry, or you won't be managing prepaid accounts through the new registry. It will be an invoicing model. So you will receive invoices periodically for the activities you've reported on that fees are attached to. So for example, every month or so, you'll get an invoice for all of the manifesting activity for that month.
Thanks, Noah. Question for Ellen. Do you still need to be TDG certified to sign the online manifest?
Yeah, so really great question and a great opportunity to just address the extent that the registry is going to be working with the transportation of dangerous goods requirements, the TDG requirements. We understand that there is a great need from our stakeholders to be able to have their manifest act as their shipping document to be compliant with the TDGA. To the extent possible, we are creating there will be a PDF downloadable version of the manifest from the registry that you'll be able to download and print to use for TDG. We have been in touch with our colleagues at Transport Canada to make sure to the extent possible that our PDF manifest download is TDG compliant. As far as signatures go, you're still required to reference the TDGA to see like who is authorized to sign the manifest that you download. For the purpose of our registry and Regulation 347, the people who are going to be signing in the registry will be the ones who are responsible for the compliance with the Regulation 347.
Thanks, Ellen. Another question for you. And so what about copy 6? How will those be handled?
Copy 6, if I remember correctly, so I guess I'll just say right now, you're not mailing any paper copies to the ministry. You're doing all of the information that you submit to the registry. It's going to be accessible by our colleagues at the ministry. So they'll be able to directly reference the information from manifest in the registry. That's also true of anyone who's listed on the manifest. So you won't have to print out and mail a copy of the manifest back to the generator. The generator or their delegate will be able to log into the registry and see that information. If this is about the correction flow, if after the shipment, perhaps the receiver notices that there is an error on the manifest, and they need to notify the generator of that change, all of that will happen in the registry system. The receiver will be able to note that a change needs to be made, And the other parties on the manifest will be able to approve that change directly in the system. We will get more into the specifics and the step-by-steps of how the registry will work in future training sessions.
And maybe Ellen, just to add to that, that's what Ellen said also means that there's no paper record storage requirement anymore. So all of the information now starting January 1st, all the information going forward related to your reporting under the Hazardous Waste Program will be in the registry.
Thank you. I believe this next question is regarding maybe self-service. It's saying the Ministry of Environment and Transport will accept electronic manifest versus current paperwork, but what about locations without tower access?
Sorry, Jess. Yeah, to the extent possible, as we've been designing the registry, we've had that in mind. We've heard from a lot of industry stakeholders that either they are in remote locations without cell service, or for safety reasons, you're not allowed to have a mobile device at the facility. So we have designed our mobile app to work in an offline mode. You'll be able to access information from your manifest and sign off on manifest. And then once you're back in service, you'll be able to complete that manifest. The ministry is developing a process for very extreme cases where it's just not possible to use technology at any time. And the ministry will be sharing details of that, how to apply for an undue hardship exemption. However, again, that's going to be really limited to extreme cases where there's no cell service at any time.
Thanks, Ellen. And a question for Ellen. Can you discuss further information related to trans-border shipments, i.e. US to Canada?
Yes, our understanding is cross-border shipments are still required to be tracked in Environment Canada's CNMTS system. And so that you're still required to check on those requirements and make sure that you're in compliance with that regulation and that system. You will have to report your Ontario specific waste management requirements for that shipment into the registry.
Okay. A question for Ellen or no. Do AGDs, if hired by a generator, hold all liability of anything written on the manifest? So who does the responsibility remain with?
Ellen, do you want me to answer this one? So the under the regulation, the generator is still the responsible party. So like we were saying before, the generator can delegate the reporting activities to a service provider. And it's really up to the generator and the service provider to determine what the terms of that arrangement are. The generator is still responsible. If the generator chooses, the generator can decide to delegate or hire someone to do it for them. But the responsibility under the regulation still remains with the generator.
Another question for delegation, Noah, so maybe I'll just throw this over to you. Can you partially delegate to more than one service provider?
The short answer to that is yes. Ellen, I don't know if you have anything more you want to add about that feature.
Sure. Yeah, the registry's been set up so that from your one generator account, you'll be able to add as many authorized generator delegates as you like, and you'll be able to specify which facilities and what activities at that facility each delegate will be responsible for.
Great, thank you. And what if a generator decides to delegate at a later date? So not right at November 15th or January 1st.
There's a few ways you might want to handle this one. If you've set up your own account, you may want to become a partial delegate, and so you would then select from the list of authorized generator delegates, and then add them to your account, and then assign the access level that you'd like. And if you want to move to a full delegation model, you'd be able to deactivate your facilities in your account and then close out your account. And then your AGD would create that facility under their account.
Thank you. So this is somewhat related to maybe that remote access question, but what happens if there is a glitch in the system and a manifest cannot be filled out at the time of service?
Yeah, that's definitely something that us in the ministry have in mind. And so we will be developing processes and information about what happens if there is a system outage on the registry side. So stay tuned for details about that process.
Thanks, Ellen. A question on fees here, Noah. So are tonnage fees going up the same as the manifest fees? So maybe you can just speak to our fee setting process again.
Sure. So that the fees for the new system have not been set yet. So again, RPRA will be recovering its costs for developing the registry and running the program. We may also be collecting the ministry's costs for the ministry's program, but those fees have not been determined yet. They will be consulted on in the fall, and that will be after RPRA goes through its business planning and budgeting process for 2023. At some point, end of September, early October, we will be consulting on those fees, and they will be set in advance of the launch of the registry or the launch of reporting in the registry for January 1st.
Thanks, Noah. Question here for Ellen. Will there be a grace period? Assuming this means for reporting in the new registry.
Yeah, I think this is probably a question for Noah as well. Our understanding from the ministry, and Noah, please feel free to jump in. Our understanding from the ministry is that the expectation is that as of January 1st, you are going to be using the registry for your reporting.
Yeah, so the short answer is no. And that's part of the reason why we're communicating with you now. And we're really trying to and really want to help you folks get ready for the transition. And it's partly why Ellen was talking about steps you can take now to get ready. And you'll be hearing more from us, webinars, information sessions, training options. We really want to make sure you are able to come in, set up your accounts, starting on November 15th. So you're ready to go before you have to start reporting activity like manifests.
Thanks, Noah. Okay, question here. So can the service provider that you're working with charge more than the RPRA fees, such as a surcharge by being fully delegated? Noah?
Yeah, so that's really up to you and the service provider you're delegating to. So the RPRA fees will be, or the registry fees will be attached to the manifesting or on-site activity you're reporting. But it's up to you and your service provider to negotiate whether there will be some additional charge for being a delegate.
Thanks, Noah. We're going to take a quick break and just launch a poll. This is something that we do in our webinars, just to get some feedback from you in terms of how we're doing and maybe in what areas we could improve. So I'll just leave this up for a minute You should see it on your screen now. There's 4 questions. Really appreciate you to fill these out. Okay, I'm gonna end the
So-
poll. Thank you for your feedback, and also feel free to share, written feedback in the Q&A section, as well as via email. Again, we're always looking to improve our communications and training, so open to all and any comments you have.
So maybe just to clarify, to help clarify my earlier response before we try to get 1 or 2 more questions in, the sort of the basic sort of concept or framework for fees isn't changing. Some of the details for how they're charged, their amounts will change. But just like in the current program, there is a mandatory fee that's attached to manifests. Right now it's a per manifest fee. I think it's $5, and then a tonnage fee, which I think in most cases is $30 a ton. So there will be a mandatory fee like that in the new system that again will cover RPRA's costs and may cover some of the ministry's costs. But your service provider, whoever's picking up that waste for you or managing your waste streams for you, disposing of that waste for you, just like they do today, will likely have their own costs associated with that service. And so you will arrange for that in the same way you do today.
Thanks, Noah. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, so let's try to squeeze them in. A question for Noah. Will RPRA have a list of accredited organizations for designated for generator delegates?
So that's a good question. Authorized generator delegates in the system will be identified. So if you're doing partial delegation and you want to identify another account holder as your delegate, that will be set up in the system. It's a good question though, whether we will be identifying a list of AGDs who would be available for full delegation. So if you're interested in never interacting with the registry or with RPRA, I'm looking over to Ellen to see if that's been determined yet, but if not, we will follow up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good feedback, something for us to consider.
Okay, and I think we can squeeze 1 more question in, and this is again about delegation. So I'll throw it to you, Noah. Is there a template for those written agreements for delegation?
No, the rule and the regulation is relatively simple and straightforward. It just needs to be a written authorization. There may be some additional details that the ministry will provide in the registration manual. So as those are available, we'll make sure you folks know about them. When we have our delegation focused information session later this summer, we may have more information provided, but we don't expect that there will be a template that will be provided. We do expect it will be a relatively, you should anticipate it'll be relatively straightforward process to get that written authorization done.
Thanks, Noah. And with that, we're at 4 p.m., so we will be ending our webinar today. Thank you, everybody, for joining and for all the amazing questions. If we didn't get to your question, please feel free to send us an email at hwp@rpra.ca. Yes, thanks, Ellen. So that email on your screen, or if you do have questions related to your current H1 system, H1 data, about your requirements under the regulation, you can contact the ministry at the email address there. We will be posting some FAQs coming out of these webinars to our website in the coming weeks in July. So look out for those, and we will be sharing them through our newsletter subscription list as well. And please use these resources. They are there for your perusal and for you to better understand the changes that are coming and what to expect ahead of the launch. So thank you again, and thanks Noah and Ellen for your great presentation skills, and we will see you again. Bye.